Did you know that the last pharaoh lived closer in time to the iPhone than to the pyramids? Yes, you heard that right. The Great Pyramid of Giza was built around 2500 BCE, but the last ruler of Egypt lived around 30 BCE, closer to our time than to the pyramid's construction. Imagine a queen so powerful that she could command armies, outsmart the greatest leaders of her time, and capture the hearts of the most powerful men in history. A queen whose beauty wasn't just in her looks, but in her intelligence, charm, and unshakable ambition. A woman who ruled one of the greatest civilizations the world has ever known, and whose story has fascinated people for over 2,000 years. But here's something you may not know. Cleopatra wasn't even Egyptian. She was Greek. Yes, the last pharaoh of Egypt actually came from a line of Greek rulers, the Ptolemies. Unlike her ancestors, who refused to even speak the Egyptian language, Cleopatra embraced the culture, spoke multiple languages, and even presented herself as the goddess Isis. She knew that to truly rule Egypt, she had to become Egypt. She wasn't just a queen. She was a master of persuasion. Cleopatra understood the power of image and scent, surrounding herself with rare perfumes that made people remember her long after she left the room. They said her voice was like music, her words like poetry, and her presence completely irresistible. She didn't just enter a room, she commanded it. She was bold. When Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt, she didn't just walk into his palace. She smuggled herself inside a rolled-up carpet and had her servants deliver her as a gift. Imagine Caesar's shock when he unrolled that carpet and found the most brilliant, confident, and ambitious queen standing before him. That moment changed history forever. Cleopatra's life was full of spectacle. She threw legendary banquets, won outrageous bets, like dissolving a priceless pearl in vinegar just to prove a point, and sailed to meet Mark Antony on a golden ship draped in purple sails, with musicians playing as if the gods themselves had arrived. She was a ruler who didn't just lead, she performed. But her power didn't last forever. Rome saw her as a threat, and her final battle against the Roman Empire would end in tragedy. Her death marked the fall of Egypt as an independent nation. And yet, her tomb has never been found. Cleopatra still holds her secrets, even in death. But Cleopatra's legacy isn't just about power, love, and war. It's about brilliance, strategy, and the ability to shape your own destiny. That's why she remains one of history's most extraordinary figures. And if you're here to improve your English, stay until the end of the video. We have two special sections just for you: key vocabulary and key grammar from this story. These will help you understand and use English more naturally, just like Cleopatra mastered the languages of her time. Are you ready to travel back in time? To uncover the truth behind the legend? Then stay with me, because this is the story of Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt. Cleopatra's early life and education. Over 2,000 years ago, in 69 BCE, a baby girl named Cleopatra was born in Alexandria, Egypt. Can you imagine being born into royalty? Cleopatra grew up in a palace surrounded by luxury, with servants, beautiful clothes, and the best education. But life in a royal family wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. There was always danger lurking, as family members fought for power and sometimes even killed each other to become king or queen. From a young age, Cleopatra learned that knowledge was power. While most women in her time weren't educated, Cleopatra studied hard and learned many languages, including Greek, Latin, Egyptian, and even Hebrew. It's said that she could speak at least 7 languages fluently, which was rare and made her very special. But Cleopatra wasn't just about studying and wearing a crown. She was also curious about everything she learned. She studied science, math, literature, and politics, and she wanted to be more than just a queen who wore a crown. She wanted to be a wise and powerful ruler. Cleopatra was a ruler, but she had a secret weapon: charm. She wasn't just smart, she was also super confident. People said she had a beautiful voice that could charm anyone's heart. But her childhood wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Her dad, King Ptolemy XII, wasn't a strong ruler. Many people in Egypt didn't like him because they thought he was weak and spent too much money. Cleopatra's family had to leave Egypt to stay safe. When Cleopatra was around 14, her life changed forever. Her mom disappeared, and some people say she died, while others believe she was killed. Cleopatra's dad got sick, and soon she would have to fight for the throne. She was still a teenager, but she was already preparing to become queen. What made Cleopatra different from other rulers was her deep love for Egypt. Even though she was part of a Greek family, she respected Egyptian traditions. She was the first female ruler to learn the Egyptian language and even presented herself as the goddess Isis, a powerful figure in Egyptian mythology. By the time Cleopatra was a young woman, she was ready to rule, but ruling Egypt wouldn't be easy. She had enemies inside and outside her family, and she knew she would have to be brave, clever, and strong. The fight for the throne. Cleopatra becomes queen. Cleopatra was no ordinary young woman from the moment she was born. Her destiny was to rule, but becoming queen wasn't easy. It was a path full of danger, betrayal, and clever plans. Let me tell you how Cleopatra became the queen of Egypt when Cleopatra was 18. Her dad, King Ptolemy XII, passed away in his will. He declared that Cleopatra would rule Egypt, but not alone. She had to share the throne with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, who was only 10 years old. Yes, in ancient Egypt, it was common for siblings to rule together, even if they were very young. But Cleopatra was determined to prove herself. She was ready to take on the challenges that lay ahead and become the great queen of Egypt. Cleopatra didn't want to share her power. She thought she was smarter and more capable than her brother. She had studied languages, history, and politics, while he was just a kid with no experience. Cleopatra knew she had to take control if she wanted to protect Egypt and rule it the way it deserved. At first, she tried to work with her brother, but soon their advisors started plotting against her. The advisors didn't like the idea of a strong and intelligent woman ruling Egypt. They wanted the 13th to have all the power because he was easier to control. Cleopatra's life quickly became dangerous. She was forced to leave the royal palace and flee to the desert. Imagine this: Cleopatra, the rightful queen, wandering in the hot, dry desert with only a few loyal followers. She had no home, no army, and no throne. But Cleopatra wasn't the kind of woman who gave up easily. She started making a plan. She knew she couldn't take back her throne alone. She needed help, and she had to think fast. Luckily, at this time, a powerful Roman general named Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt. Caesar was one of the most famous and influential men in the world. Cleopatra saw an opportunity. She decided to meet Caesar, but she knew she had to do something dramatic to grab his attention. She couldn't just walk into the palace because her enemies would stop her. So, she came up with a bold and clever idea. One night, Cleopatra had her loyal servant wrap her in a large carpet. Yes, a carpet. Then, the servant carried the carpet into Caesar's quarters as a gift. When the carpet was unrolled, Cleopatra appeared, looking stunning and full of confidence. Imagine Caesar's surprise when this beautiful, intelligent young woman emerged from the carpet. Cleopatra spoke to Caesar with charm and intelligence. She told him about her struggles, her love for Egypt, and her dreams of becoming a great queen. Caesar was impressed. He saw that Cleopatra wasn't just beautiful. She was also smart and capable. Caesar, a brilliant and ambitious leader, agreed to lend a hand to Cleopatra in regaining her throne. Together, they hatched a plan to defeat their enemies. The 13th and his advisors were no match for the combined forces of Cleopatra and Caesar after a fierce battle. The 13th was defeated, and Cleopatra was restored as the Queen of Egypt. But Cleopatra wasn't content with just regaining her throne. She wanted Egypt to become powerful and respected again. She started working closely with Caesar to strengthen her country, introducing new policies, improving trade, and even building a strong relationship between Egypt and Rome. Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, power and love. Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in Rome, were now the queen and king of Egypt. But their story wasn't just about politics. It was also about love, ambition, and danger. After Cleopatra defeated her brother, the 13th, with Caesar's help, she became the most powerful person in Egypt. But she didn't want to just rule Egypt. She wanted to make her country strong and respected across the world. She knew that having Caesar by her side could help her achieve her dreams. Cleopatra and Caesar spent a lot of time together after the battle. Cleopatra admired Caesar's strength, intelligence, and leadership skills. Caesar admired Cleopatra's beauty, charm, and clever mind, even though Caesar was much older than Cleopatra, being around 52 years old while Cleopatra was only 21. Their connection was strong. Cleopatra invited Caesar to stay in Egypt, and he agreed. Together, they explored the beautiful city of Alexandria, sailed along the Nile River, and talked about their plans for the future. Cleopatra showed Caesar the rich culture and history of Egypt, and Caesar was impressed. He saw that Egypt wasn't just a land of deserts and pyramids, but a powerful and wealthy country with great potential. In 47 BCE, Cleopatra gave birth to a son named Caesar. But people called him Caesarion, which means Little Caesar. Cleopatra believed that Caesarion would unite Egypt and Rome, creating a powerful empire. She wanted her son to be a symbol of strength and unity, but their happiness didn't last long. Cleopatra and Caesar's relationship caused a lot of problems in Rome. Many people there didn't like the idea of Caesar being so close to a foreign queen. They thought Cleopatra was trying to take control of Rome through Caesar. Some even called her a dangerous temptress. Caesar decided to return to Rome, but he didn't leave Cleopatra behind. Instead, he invited her to come with him. Cleopatra was always bold and fearless, so she agreed. She traveled to Rome with Caesarion and a grand entourage. Imagine the scene. Cleopatra arriving in Rome with gold chariots, exotic animals, and beautiful Egyptian servants. She wanted to show the Romans the wealth and power of Egypt. Cleopatra lived in a luxurious villa provided by Caesar. She attended banquets, met important Roman leaders, and even influenced Roman fashion with her Egyptian style. But not everyone welcomed her. Roman women were especially unhappy because Cleopatra was so different. She was confident, glamorous, and unafraid to stand out. While in Rome, Cleopatra witnessed Caesar's rise to power. He declared himself dictator for life, meaning he had complete control over Rome. Cleopatra hoped that this would strengthen their alliance, but trouble was brewing. Many Roman senators were unhappy with Caesar's growing power and started plotting against him. In 44 BCE, something terrible happened. Julius Caesar was assassinated by a group of senators who feared he was becoming too powerful. They stabbed him in the Roman Senate, and his death shocked the world. Cleopatra was devastated. She had lost her greatest ally and the father of her son. Cleopatra knew that her life was in danger without Caesar. She had no choice but to flee. In Rome, many people saw Cleopatra as a threat, so she had to act fast. She gathered her servants, son, and treasures and fled back to Egypt. In Egypt, Cleopatra was determined to stay strong. She mourned Caesar's death, but didn't let it stop her. She ruled Egypt with wisdom and courage, strengthening her army, improving the economy, and preparing for any challenges that came next. Cleopatra also made sure to protect her son, Caesarion. She wanted him to grow up as a strong leader who could one day fulfill her dream of uniting Egypt and Rome. She taught him about politics, strategy, and the responsibilities of being a ruler. But Cleopatra knew that Egypt was still in a dangerous position. Rome was the most powerful empire in the world, and Egypt needed a strong ally. Cleopatra began to look for new ways to protect her country and her throne. This chapter of Cleopatra's life was filled with love, loss, and survival. She had faced one of the greatest tragedies of her life, but refused to give up. The rise of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Cleopatra and Mark Antony's lives took another exciting and dramatic turn after Julius Caesar's death. This chapter is about Cleopatra's meeting with Mark Antony, one of the most powerful leaders in Rome. Their story became one of the most famous love stories in history. After Julius Caesar died, Rome was in chaos. Many powerful men were fighting to take control of the empire. Among them were Mark Antony, Caesar's adopted son, and Lepidus. Together, they formed the second triumvirate to rule Rome, but it was clear they didn't trust each other. Mark Antony was a brave soldier and a skilled leader. He was strong, handsome, and very confident. He was also charming, and people admired him. Mark Antony had heard about Cleopatra, the beautiful and intelligent queen of Egypt, but they had never met. Mark Antony wanted Egypt's support because Egypt was a rich and powerful country. Cleopatra, on the other hand, wanted Rome's support because Egypt was in danger. The other hand wanted to protect Egypt from Rome's growing power. She knew that building a strong alliance with Mark Antony could help her achieve that. One day, Mark Antony sent a message to Cleopatra. He wanted her to meet him in Tarsus, a city in modern-day Turkey, to discuss their alliance. Cleopatra knew this was her chance to impress Antony and plan something unforgettable. When Cleopatra arrived in Tarsus, she didn't just come as an ordinary queen. She made a grand entrance that would leave everyone speechless. Cleopatra sailed to Tarsus on a golden ship with silver oars and purple sails. She dressed as the goddess Afric, the goddess of love and beauty, and surrounded herself with beautiful servants dressed as gods and goddesses. The air was filled with the sweet smell of perfumes and flowers when Antony saw Cleopatra. He was amazed. He had never seen anyone like her. She was confident, intelligent, and beautiful. Cleopatra spoke to Antony with charm and wit, and he couldn't take his eyes off her. That meeting was the beginning of their powerful and passionate relationship. Cleopatra invited Antony to come to Egypt, and he accepted. In Alexandria, They spent time together, enjoying lavish banquets, parties, and games. Cleopatra showed Antony the beauty of Egypt and its rich culture. They laughed, shared stories, and made plans for the future. Antony felt deeply in love with Cleopatra, and she fell in love with him too. Together, they dreamed of creating a great empire that would rule both Rome and Egypt. Cleopatra believed that with Antony by her side, she could protect Egypt and make it more powerful than ever. But their relationship wasn't just about love. It was also about politics. Antony needed Cleopatra's wealth and resources to support his military campaigns, and Cleopatra needed Antony's power to protect Egypt. They both knew that they were stronger together. Cleopatra and Antony's love grew stronger, and they even had 3 children together. A son named Alexander. Helios had a daughter named Cleopatra Selene and another son named Tmy. Philadelphia's Cleopatra was proud of her family and believed her children would one day rule a great empire. However, not everyone was happy about their relationship in Rome. Antony's alliance with Cleopatra made many people angry, especially Octavian. Octavian saw Cleopatra as a threat and accused her of trying to take control of Rome. He started spreading rumors that Cleopatra had bewitched Antony with her beauty and charms. Antony's alliance with Cleopatra also caused problems in his personal life. He was already married to Octavian's sister, Octavia, but he chose to stay with Cleopatra instead. This created tension between Antony and Octavian, and their rivalry grew stronger. The tension between Antony and Octavian eventually led to war. Octavian declared Cleopatra and Antony enemies of Rome and sent his army to fight them. Cleopatra and Antony prepared for battle, knowing that everything they had worked for was at stake. The war against Rome. Cleopatra and Mark Antony were ready to fight for their love, their dreams, and their kingdoms. They stood together as a powerful couple, determined to protect everything they had built. But their final chapter was filled with betrayal, heartbreak, and courage that would inspire people for centuries. Octavian, their greatest enemy, was determined to destroy Cleopatra and Antony. He wanted to take control of Egypt and stop Antony from gaining more power. Octavian's army was strong, disciplined, and well prepared for war. Cleopatra and Antony, however, were not going to give up without a fight. They decided to face Octavian in a great naval battle known as the Battle of Actium. This battle took place in 31 BCE near the coast of Greece. Cleopatra brought her fleet of Egyptian ships, and Antony brought his Roman forces together. They believed they could win the day of the battle. The sea was filled with ships, soldiers, and the tension was palpable. Cleopatra and Antony fought bravely, but Octavian's army was too strong during the battle. Something unexpected happened. Cleopatra's ship suddenly turned and sailed away. Many believe she retreated to protect her fleet and herself, but Antony misunderstood her actions and thought she had betrayed him. Feeling heartbroken and confused, Antony's forces began to fall apart. Octavian's army defeated them, and Antony was left devastated. He returned to Egypt to find Cleopatra desperate for answers. When they met, Cleopatra explained her actions. She hadn't betrayed him. She had only wanted to save their lives. Antony believed her, and their love remained strong. But they knew their enemies were closing in. Octavian's army followed them to Egypt. Cleopatra and Antony tried to defend Alexandria, but they were outnumbered. They realized they couldn't win this war, but they were determined to stay together until the end. Antony fought bravely in one last battle, but his army was defeated. Heartbroken and believing Cleopatra was dead, Antony fell on his sword as he lay dying. News came that Cleopatra was still alive. Her servants carried him to Cleopatra's hiding place, and the two lovers shared their final moments together. Antony died in Cleopatra's arms, leaving her alone to face her enemies. Cleopatra's final stand. Cleopatra knew that Octavian would soon capture her. She refused to let him parade her through Rome as a prisoner, showing her as a defeated queen. Cleopatra was a woman of pride and dignity. She decided to take control of her fate in her final moments. Dressed in her royal robes and crown, she surrounded herself with treasures and symbols of her reign. According to legend, she arranged for a poisonous snake called an asp to be brought to her. She allowed the snake to bite her, ending her life on her own terms. When Octavian arrived, he found Cleopatra dead, lying peacefully in her royal chamber. He was shocked but also saddened. Cleopatra's death marked the end of the Egyptian kingdom. Octavian took control and Egypt became part of the Roman Empire. But Cleopatra's story didn't end there. Her life and love with Antony became legendary. People admired her for her intelligence, bravery, and determination. She wasn't just a queen. She was a symbol of strength, resilience, and courage. Cleopatra's legacy. Cleopatra's story teaches us that even in the face of great challenges, we can stand strong and fight for what we believe in. She never gave up on her dreams or her country. She showed the world that women can be powerful leaders. Think of Cleopatra as a warrior. Her life may have ended in tragedy, but her legacy lives on. Cleopatra reminds us to never give up, to believe in ourselves, and to take control of our destiny. She proved that even in the darkest moments, we can face our challenges with courage and dignity. So, my friends, let Cleopatra's story inspire you to be strong, dream big, and never let fear stop you. Her life may have been filled with struggles, but it was also filled with love, hope, and greatness. Be like Cleopatra, bold, fearless, and unforgettable. What did you think of this incredible journey? Isn't Cleopatra's story one of the most inspiring stories in history? Let her life remind you that no matter how hard life gets, you have the power to rise above it. Key vocabulary. Great job listening to Cleopatra's story. Now, let's learn some important words from the story. These words will help you understand history better and improve your English. Listen carefully, repeat after me, and let's have fun. 1. Pharaoh, noun. A pharaoh was the ruler of ancient Egypt, like a king or queen. Cleopatra was the last pharaoh of Egypt. Can you say it? Pharaoh. 2. Throne, noun. A throne is the special chair for a king or queen. It also means power. Cleopatra had to fight for her throne. Say it with me. Throne. 3. Betray, verb. To betray means to break trust or be disloyal. Cleopatra's brother betrayed her and took her power. Your turn. Betray. 4. Ally, noun. An ally is a friend or partner in a fight or war. Julius Caesar was Cleopatra's ally. Say it. Ally. 5. Empire, noun. An empire is a group of countries ruled by one leader. Rome was the biggest empire in the world at that time. Can you say it? Empire. 6. Ambition, noun. Ambition means a strong desire to succeed or have power. Cleopatra had great ambition. She wanted to make Egypt powerful. Say it with me. Ambition. 7. Conquer. Verb. To conquer means to take control of a place or people by force. Octavian conquered Egypt after Cleopatra's death. Repeat after me. Conquer. 8. Naval battle. Noun phrase. A naval battle is a fight between ships on the sea. Cleopatra and Mark Antony lost the great naval battle against Rome. Say it. Naval battle. 9. Poison. Noun/verb. Poison is something that can kill or hurt you if you eat or drink it. Cleopatra used poison to control her own fate. Say it. Poison. 10. Legacy. Noun. A legacy is something important that a person leaves behind after they die. Cleopatra's legacy is her intelligence, strength, and courage. Say it with me. Legacy. Great job. Now, you know 10 important words from Cleopatra's story. Try using them in a sentence and keep practicing. Key grammar. Great job listening to Cleopatra's story. Now, let's look at some important grammar points from the story. These will help you speak and write better in English. Listen carefully, repeat after me, and let's learn together. 1. Past simple tense. We use the past simple to talk about things that happened in the past. In the story, we said, Cleopatra became queen at 18. The verb became is the past form of become. Let's practice. What did you do yesterday? Try answering in the past simple. 2. Past continuous tense. We use the past continuous to talk about something happening at a specific time in the past. In the story, we said, Cleopatra was sailing to meet Mark Antony. The verb was sailing shows that the action was happening at that moment. Your turn. What were you doing at 8 p.m. last night? 3. Comparatives and superlatives. We use comparatives to compare two things and superlatives to say something is the best. In the story, we said, Cleopatra was smarter than her brother. Here, smarter is a comparative adjective. We also said, Cleopatra was one of the most powerful women in history. Most powerful is a superlative. Now you try. Complete this sentence. Write your answers in the comments. 4. First conditional. We use the first conditional to talk about possible future situations. In the story, we could say, if Cleopatra loses the war, she will lose her throne. Structure. If plus present simple, will plus verb. Your turn. Finish this sentence. Write your answers in the comments. 5. Reported speech. We use reported speech to tell what someone said. In the story, we could say, Cleopatra said that she wanted to protect Egypt. The word that is often used in reported speech. Try this. Change Mark Antony said, I love Egypt, into reported speech. Fantastic work. These grammar points will help you speak English like a pro. Wow, what an incredible journey we've just taken together. Cleopatra's life was filled with ambition, love, and power, but most of all, she was a woman who never gave up. She fought for her throne, shaped history with her intelligence, and left behind a legacy that still inspires us today. And just like Cleopatra mastered languages to rule her world, you are mastering English to open doors in your own life. Learning a new language isn't always easy, but every step you take brings you closer to your goals. You are stronger, smarter, and more capable than you think. And remember, at the end of every video, we go over key vocabulary and key grammar to help you understand and use English more naturally. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to my channel Learn English with Stories 365. Join our amazing community of English learners, where we grow together, one story at a time. And for even more learning, join our Facebook group, Learn English with Stories 365, where you can practice, ask questions, and connect with other learners from around the world. The journey is always better when we learn together. Thank you for being here, for believing in yourself, and for taking another step toward fluency. Be bold, be curious, and never stop learning. See you in the next story.